Hello, welcome back. Yeah, it's been some time. It's been a little while. I hope you're well. I've been gone a little bit, but it was for a good reason. I have been writing my butt off and I have so much to update you on. So we are going back in time a little bit to May. The last time you saw me, I had finished my zero draft of Project Gemstone in April. And I did those two back-to-back vlogs where I wrote the end, and then I sat down and did my reread and made my revision plan all at the end of April. And so that then takes us to the beginning of May. I, made that revision plan and turned right around and started writing the next draft of the book. No breaks, no, pause to catch my breath. I just dove right in. So that is when this vlog takes place. I did want to do something fun to kind of mark the beginning of my new draft and try to get excited and get some good motivation going, and it was quite, dizzying to get to the end of the draft and then go right back to the beginning. So momentum was like a big thing for me as I was working on this draft, and so I'm really happy that I started it with this exciting little experiment to kind of give me that kickstart. I had no time at all to feel intimidated or nervous about starting the draft. I gave myself no time to think about it and just started. Without any further ado, let's go back in time to the first weekend of May. All right. Oh, I just cracked everything. All right, so let's just get started. I was talking to my good friends, Malin and Hudson, about how we all wanted to someday go on a writing retreat and how nice it would be to go on that retreat together. But sadly, we all live quite a long plane ride away from each other. But we thought about how fun it would be to do a virtual retreat together, and so we picked this weekend as a weekend that we would all intentionally spend writing and try to get away from our regular routines, get out of the house if possible, maybe even go to a hotel or an Airbnb and sprint with each other, and just generally get a lot of good work done. Today's Thursday and that writing retreat weekend starts tomorrow, so I want to tell you about what I have planned. I really wanted to jump at the chance to go write somewhere else that wasn't this room or my couch. So I was initially looking at hotels and Airbnb, and I really didn't come up with anything that was really inspiring and fit in my budget, which was very small. I am doing a lot of traveling later this year, so I don't have a lot of money to drop on this weekend, unfortunately. So I was trying to keep it very affordable. So yeah, after much searching and hemming and hawing and not wanting to spend too much money, I came up with what I think is a pretty good solution and will probably end up being a fun experiment for us. I thought about looking up co-working spaces. I've never been to a co-working space before, but always very interested in it as someone who loved to go work at libraries. I used to do that a lot pre-pandemic. So I was searching around, and number one, I had to find a place that was open on the weekends. That narrowed my search quite a lot. But I'm so excited about the place that I found. They are a local co-working club in Atlanta, and they have branches all over Atlanta. So I think we'll be able to check out a couple different neighborhoods, but it's called Switchyards, and it is $100 a month, which, may seem like a lot, but I was going to buy like 2 nights at a hotel or an Airbnb for this weekend, and this is quite a lot less money than that, and I'm gonna get to use it for the whole month. So I can go multiple times on a weekend, I can go on some weeknights if I wish. In general, it just seemed like a lot more of a cost-effective option, and I'm really so much more excited about this option, about having something to force me out of the house and get into a different creative headspace. And the place looks so darn cozy and cute, and it looks like the kind of place that I would just want to move in. And if these people want to redecorate my house, then they're welcome to. The vibes seem good. My plan for this weekend, the retreat weekend, is to go to Switchyards as much as I possibly can. One rule they have is that you cannot eat meals there. So I can't show up, with a lunchbox in tow and plan to stay there all day. This is definitely a treat yourself moment. I totally recognize that not everyone has $100 to spend on something like this, but for me, I am just gonna try and suck as much fun and productivity and chill vibes out of this month that I possibly can at Switchyards before I probably cancel, unfortunately. But for this month, I'm gonna just enjoy it and treat myself because I finished my draft recently, and this month I'm starting the really scary, intimidating process of trying to rewrite it. I really need to keep my nose to the grindstone if I really want to stick to my schedule. And so I think doing this co-working club is kind of the perfect thing to help me get through this month and end it on the note that I want. With all that being said, this retreat weekend kicks off my revision process. Hopefully it will go really well, and we'll see what Switchyards is all about, and I'll take you along with me. We just got to Switchyards. It was very trafficy, but we're here, so we're gonna go check it out. Wish me luck. I never vlog in public, so this might go horribly, but I'm excited, and let's go get started. The way it works is that with my membership, I have access to all the different locations in the city, and your pass is in your phone. So I just had to wave my phone in front of a little card reader, and then boom, I was in, and the space was so amazing. It was this big, refurbished, like cavernous, industrial kind of space. It was full of couches and comfy chairs and lamps everywhere. On their website, they definitely, advertise it as a living room vibe, and they boast about how many lamps they have in each space. It was warm orange light everywhere, and it was so wonderful to be there. As the sun went down and the space got cozier and cozier, we had free tea and coffee and stroopwafels and also some merch, which is always appreciated. I love me a sticker. Basically, as soon as I got there, I made a beeline for a table in the back by the windows, pretending like it wasn't my first time there and I knew exactly what to do. So I just made a beeline to an empty table, sat down, and got working, and it was pretty quiet being that it was Friday night, and by the time I left 3 hours later, I was definitely the second to last person there. But it was very nice having this really cool, vibey place all to myself. Also, the playlist was really, really good. I'm not someone who usually can write to music, but the playlist was really good. It was just enough noise to kind of keep that part of my brain occupied, but it didn't distract me. I'm so tired. Whew, I barely have enough light left for this, but I'm home from my first Switchyards experience. It was great. I was there for almost 3 hours, which I can hardly believe. The time really flew by, but now I'm feeling it. I'm very tired. Definitely makes for a long day to go, through my work day and then go write for 3 hours. But it feels so good to be here on Friday night and having written. And I still have the whole weekend ahead of me, and that feels so great. I had a great time. I finished chapter 1, so that was about 1,800 words down, and probably a couple more tweaks on that chapter, but all in all, I'm really happy that this draft is begun, and we're on our way. And yeah, Switchyards was fantastic. It was really cozy, and the living room vibes were off the charts. It was super empty tonight, which I figured it would be on a Friday night. We will see what the rest of the weekend brings. We'll check out some other locations and maybe pick a fave and get some more writing done. I have to walk in my marching band steps so that I don't shake the camera. try that again. Okay, so it's Saturday at about 1:15. We are gonna head out to Buckhead. We're gonna go to Switchyards, Buckhead. I went on a really nice walk this morning with Luke and got our steps in and then had some lunch, and now I'm ready to go get started. I really wanted to go outside today. Take some time to go do something in nature, just because yesterday I did not do anything remotely active at all. I thought that was important that we get out there and do something. So we went on a nice 2-mile walk. And now we shall go right. The Buckhead location was really cool as well. It was located in an office complex, so it was super dead when I went on Saturday. And I was expecting this location to be really busy. I went at about 2 o'clock, and I thought that, like any sort of cafe on the weekends, that it would be full of people trying to get work done. But it was actually empty, and I was the only person there for the whole first hour. I got to just walk around and look at all the decorations up close and pick my favorite spot. I settled on this comfy couch in the middle of the room, and I had a really nice view of all the plants. There are so many plants, and I definitely, grabbed my obligatory free stroopwafel, and that was good. And I just started working on episode 2. The good vibes continued. There are ample charging spaces at every single seat. There's warm lamps everywhere, plants everywhere. The playlist was good. It's nice in the way that it's set up, where there's little areas where your view is kind of blocked, so no one is looking at each other. You can go into your little area and it's very hidden, whether through decorations or furniture, or they really stack the plants up high and create these little living spaces. So it was nice, and it definitely felt like I had so much space to myself. We still have one more day of this experiment. I am going to start my writing at home today, just so that I can get up and write with Malin. I'm so excited for her because she wanted to do 10K this weekend while we were doing this little retreat challenge, and she's so close to hitting it, and so I want to be online sprinting with her when she crosses her goal. So I'm up a little bit early to sprint with Malin, but then I will probably head out to a new Switchyards this afternoon to try and get some good work done. I'm happy to be back in my space, and after 2 days of writing outside of my space, it feels nice and cozy and relaxing. And I was looking forward to getting up and writing here this morning. Usually I'm sick of being in this room. I finished putting down chapter 2 yesterday when I was at Switchyards. I've got a couple of things to tweak in that chapter, but I think then I'll be able to go ahead and move on to chapter 3. So we're making progress. We're getting through it. I would love to just work on it as much as possible, honestly. I don't even know what my goal is anymore, except that I just want to be moving through it. It's a little slower than I was expecting because I wrote these chapters so quickly, and I was kind of expecting to go into the same momentum. And for the most part, they are staying the same. I'm not changing very much about these early chapters, which is so exciting. Past Me did a really good job on these chapters, and I can just tell that the words were flowing. And it's really only a couple things I need to change, researching certain things about the time period, researching certain gems and stones, figuring out names, naming things, and so that's where I get stuck a little bit. But for the most part, everything else in these early chapters, I'm keeping. And that's really stunning to me, that I get to keep so much of a zero draft. This zero draft came out at a quality that I could have never expected. I marked it all up, wrote up my notes, and I have little notes here on the side of little things I need to fix, and those refer back to longer notes pages where I've scribbled out ideas and stuff. This process I couldn't have used on a previous zero draft because it was too messy, too bad. It couldn't be worked with on such a fine line level. I didn't even print out another draft like this until I was on my 3rd draft of my fantasy novel, and that's when I could kind of make notes with a pen on certain paragraphs. because by then it was kind of like, okay, we might kind of keep it in this rough shape. But this, it just came out exactly as I wanted it, as I think it should be. And so getting to do like these markups is really exciting. It feels like, at least on this project, I was a better writer than I was before. That's really encouraging. That's really encouraging. So I'm enjoying it so far. Of course, the early chapters are the best chapters, in my opinion. The least amount of changes are needed, so I might be, changing my tune as we get into the middle of the series. Loving it for right now, so we're gonna go finish chapter 2 with Malin. She's gonna get her 10K, and then this afternoon we will go to our last Switchyards location and work on chapter 3. Great, we finished our sprint, so it's about noon. Malin hit her 10K weekend, which was so incredible. I'm so proud of her and in amazement. But yeah, that was really good for me. I just tinkered with episode 2 some more. There were a couple more descriptions and little things that I needed to weave in that I wanted to return to. And I've kind of got my episode 3 organized in my campfire now, so I'm ready to dive into that when we get to Switchyards later today. But yeah, I'm ready to take a break and start some lunch. Lunch has been eaten. I think we're ready to go out to Switchyards. Alright, we have arrived. I decided to come back to Buckhead because it was looking really trafficy to drive across town, so we're gonna go back to the place I was at yesterday. I really enjoyed it, and there's a little cozy corner that I was kind of eyeballing. Parking lot still looks really empty, so maybe this place is just really dead on the weekends, which I honestly would not mind at all. That sounds great to me, so yeah, let's go check it out. Alright, that about wraps up my experience with Switchyards. I think I revised about 2.5 chapters that weekend, and like I said at the beginning of the video, that really helped me to just get a good chunk in to the draft before I even had a chance to feel scared or intimidated. It was extremely chill, extremely accessible, the vibes were great, a really comfortable place to go spend, 3 or 4 hours and not feel like you do at a cafe where you're very conscious of the space that you're taking up and, wanting to keep maybe buying food and drink to feel like you can keep your table. So it was just really nice to have a workspace where you could just come in unapologetically and just set up and camp out, because that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I kept on using it throughout the whole month after the vlog ended and after our little experiment ended. I kept going back on the weekends And yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. Most of the times that I went, the locations would be mostly empty. And I'm not sure if that's because most of their customer base are like freelancers and self-employed folks who are working during working hours. And so when I'm going outside of normal working hours on like a Friday night or a Saturday or a Sunday, it's pretty dead. And I do enjoy that because then I can just spread out on a couch and, you know, no one's there. It's kind of nice to have the space to yourself, but it's also been nice on other occasions. I went to another location that wasn't in this video, and that one was a little busier. The way that it's set up, it never feels crowded because they create these little work areas and everyone feels kind of secluded, even though there is so much space. For the price, it was a bit tough for me as like a hobby writer. I did end up canceling it just because if, you know, I'm only able to go maybe realistically like 3 or 4 times a month, and that would be pretty stellar if I made it 3 or 4 times a month. And that often for $100 was just hard for me to justify. But if I was someone who had more flexibility with where I could work, or I was self-employed or a freelancer, I would definitely be going to Switchyards like as much as possible to kind of separate work-life balance, and the $100 I think would be well worth it. So that's just my thoughts on Switchyards. But as far as doing like writing retreats and designated writing time, it was so good, and it kind of made me realize like whether I go to Switchyards or I go to the library or I go to Barnes & Noble, like I should do this more, because designating that time and protecting that time is really important. I can go to sleep on a Friday and say, oh, tomorrow's Saturday, I'm gonna write for 3 hours in the morning. But very often it's like a 50-50 shot of whether or not that actually happens when I'm home. Because when I'm home, I'm seeing the chores in the kitchen that I feel like I should be doing, and I'm seeing the laundry that I know I need to do later, but what if I just started it right now? And, you know, I'm thinking about doing things with Luke, and so it's so easy for me to not write when I'm home. But if I have a plan to go out and go somewhere with that intention, then obviously I'm not going to do anything else, and I'm not going to get distracted by whatever I feel like I should be doing at home. That was my big takeaway from the retreat weekend and the little experiment, and I definitely want to take that going forward, especially at the beginning of drafts, because I think that can be kind of a sticking point for writers. That's an easy spot to get intimidated, to feel like I'm not good enough for this project right now, when the amount of work that's ahead of us just feels really overwhelming. And so this was kind of an exciting way to distract myself from what I was actually doing, which was starting a new draft, and just kind of focus on the experience of what it's like to write in a new place. Don't forget, if you want to check out Malin's video about her retreat, she was able to post hers a lot sooner than mine, so maybe you've already seen it, but if not, please go check it out. Definitely hoping to be back soon with another video to catch you up on where we are with Project Gemstone and everything that's happening in that department. It's going to be a wild summer. And I'm so grateful for anyone who is interested in following along. It truly means a lot to me to see your comments. All right, I'm gonna sign off, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.